WEFM. WhatsApp us or call us at 457-9997. Rise and shine. Let's get ready to take on the day. Activated Mornings on WEFM 99.9 is on now.
Good morning to all the listeners of WEFM. It's another day with Roleza and Dianna here on Activated Mornings. And at this time, we are going to have our morning commentary from PeeJohn, and he is already on the line. So, PeeJohn, good morning. Over to you.
Good morning, Dianna. Good morning, Roleza. My question today is, what are the challenges facing children in St. Vincent and the Grenadines today? Now, we are in the midst of Child's Month. In St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Child's Month is observed annually in May, with the current theme being keep us safe, strong and free. We are children, let us be. The month-long celebration aims to raise awareness about children's issues and promote their well-being. The Ministry of Education and other government and non-government agencies will be hosting a variety of activities throughout the month, including marches, rallies, exhibitions, and other activities to promote the theme and raise awareness. Now, I personally believe that children in this country are generally well off. However, there are some issues that we must continue to address. I want to list about 5 of them. 1, poverty. Many children are still growing up in low-income households, limiting access to basic needs like nutritious food, healthcare, and proper housing. 2, limited educational resources. Despite the commendable efforts being made in this regard, some schools lack sufficient learning materials, trained teachers, and other modern facilities. 3, child abuse. The ill-treatment of young children is too rampant. Many of them suffer abuse of all forms, sometimes under the guise of discipline. 4, exposure to violence and crime. Some children are affected by domestic violence, community crime, or peer pressure related to gang activity. And 5, natural disasters like hurricanes, volcanic eruptions, and just remember the passage of Beryl and the impact it is still having on our children. And this tends to disrupt education, displace families, and create trauma and instability. Now, as a keen observer of life and living in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, I do reiterate that life for our children is generally good, according to my view. But like everything else, we can do much better. I want to urge you and your listeners to pay particular attention to Child Month activities, and let us pledge to keep our children safe, strong, and free, as reflected in the theme. And that is my rant for the day.
All right. Thank you, PeeJohn. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Same to you.
Thank you. That was Mr. PeeJohn there with his morning commentary. He asked the question, what are the challenges facing children in SVG? Before we get into that, let me once again say good morning to all of our listeners. You are on the right path. You're tuned into the right station. You don't have a need to go anywhere else. And it's just going to be great from here on out, at least until 10 o'clock. Okay, Roleza and I are going to make sure that your day starts off amazing. Speaking of Roleza, good morning.
Morning. So we're trying to bring some sunshine to you this morning because outside looking real gloomy, right? It looks like it's going to rain today. So we are going to hope to try to bring some sunshine to your morning. And of course, you're listening to WEFM. We're right next to the sea, all the scenery and everything. We're taking it in. So hopefully, being here, we're going to project that through our voices to you. All right. So good morning to everybody. I saw cowboys early this morning. So guess what?
Oh, okay.
More vehicles in Bitsy. All right. So if y'all start to grumble before, more coming for y'all to add to the mix. All right. So good morning to everybody. Yeah, I been a little salty this morning with you all, but yeah, good morning to everybody. And buenos dias to George on the live and the other persons who are on the live as well. And those persons have a message on the WhatsApp. We're gonna get to the WhatsApp afterwards.
All right, then. Well, this morning, PeeJohn raised the point that this is now Child's Month. Well, this month is celebrated as Child's Month, which most of us probably know by now. If you didn't know, well, now you know that we have been celebrating Child Month. I can't remember the theme out of my head at this particular moment, but PeeJohn raised 5 points this morning that he said are some of the issues affecting children in SVG at this present moment. So he said poverty, limited educational resources, child abuse, exposure to violence and crime, and natural disasters. I just want to encourage the parents at this time that are listening. Let's try to improve on our practice. I know for many of us, we do things that were probably done to us as a child. So we think that is what we ought to do. So for some of us, we didn't plan to do it, but you find yourself, you just fall into the pattern because it was what you were exposed to. It's what you had for most of your life, and you probably haven't seen something different, probably haven't gone to do a little bit more research. And so you're caught up in this particular cycle to some extent. So I just want to encourage the parents to do a little bit better. Sit down and assess yourself. It's okay to sit down. I think that every human being should be doing this from time to time. You sit down, you do some introspection, you find the things that are in you that you need to work on, and you hold yourself accountable. Think of the things you've done or said to the children and ask yourself, did they really deserve this, or was it just me taking out my emotions on them? Because if I'm being honest, I've had a couple of times where I sit down and then I ask myself, so you shouted at your son for this particular reason. Did he deserve to be shouted at, or is it that you were just angry or you were just sad in the moment and you figured that was your response, or he did something and you think that it upset you? Why did it upset you? Was it something that you really were supposed to get upset about? Or were you just already upset? You were already going through something in your own mind, and because that is the person that was there, that's who you took it out on. And sometimes that is what happens. But it is no excuse, no matter what you've gone through, no matter how damaged, how traumatized you think you are from your childhood. The child ain't got nothing to do with that. You have to pull yourself together at some point. Even if you were abused, even if you went through those things, at some point you have to pull yourself together and say, you know what, it ends with me and I'm going to do better. At least if you love your children. Yeah, that's my rant. That's my rant.
All right. To the last points that you said, when you said to do some introspection, to question yourself. I remember when my niece was a lot younger, there were times when I would wonder if I was doing right by her, right? And I remember having a conversation with a friend about it because she also had, her daughter was also young at the time, and one of her daughters was young at the time. And she said, if you have to stop and question yourself as a parent, it means that you're doing the right thing. Because there are many parents out there who think that everything that they do is correct, right? They say that I am the parent, what I say goes. But if you as a parent, you stop and you question, am I actually doing right by this child? Did what it is that I did the way in which I correct that child, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If you question it, it means that you are actually trying to see whether or not the problem might lie with you or if it's really with the child itself, child themselves. All right. So that is a good thing as well. So PeeJohn listed the things that he saw as being the challenges for children these days, right? He listed poverty, limited educational resources, child abuse, exposure to violence and crime, natural disasters. I honestly think that children are going through a lot more, right? And part of it does have to do with social media. I remember telling the same friend recently, this is years after now, that I remember looking at a video of a particular influencer, right? Here in SVG. And I'm looking at the video of her being outside. She's having all the fun in the world. And I'm saying, but I could not imagine growing up in this time, looking at people like her. Now, of course, hats off to her, right? She's doing it. She's doing her do. She's living her life. She's enjoying herself to the fullest. But I often wonder how many children are out there looking at these images of persons out there living their best life, right? And they also want to be able to live that type of life. And I think that many children are comparing themselves to persons who they see either locally or internationally in terms of what it means to be young and alive. So that is one of the things that I note. I mean, we would have done the comparison thing when we were growing up, going to high school. And yes, I'm saying it. Going to high school, there are children who came from families that were well-to-do, right? And then you go to high school and, well, I think it might have been different in my time from yours. Yours was probably a little bit, more thing, because for me, at least when I went, yes, you had children who came from well-to-do parents, but the majority of us were not from well-to-do parents. So we sort of, we sort of blended in. I think where we felt the difference was more from the teachers and not from students themselves. But yes, I said that. All right. But that's one of the things that, growing up now is different for them. I also think that many parents are no longer as hands-on as they should be. You put your child in front of a tablet or a phone, they're in the corner by themselves, and you are not necessarily there speaking to this child. How many parents are actually saying, okay, well, let me go and get them involved in this, and I'm actually going to participate in the activities with them? How many of them sit down, and I made the point before, how many of them sit down and have a family dinner together where they ask the child, well, what did you do in school today? What troubled you or what affected you? Many parents are not doing that. Children are eating dinner in their rooms. Parents might be in their rooms and the child in the living room. Boy, what happened there? Boy, technology. All right. Children, so there's a disconnect in terms of, that emotional attachment that children should have to their parents. The thing of it is, I know that when children are young, we always would be like, oh gosh, stop being up under me. You can't wait for them to be a little bit independent. My niece was like a shadow, like a literal shadow. I would be at the sewing machine and she right there braps in my lap. And I used to get so frustrated till I got her own sewing machine, a toy sewing machine, to get her away from me. But then when she got older, she's in one place and I'm in one place. I did not see my niece for an entire day once because I was upstairs doing my sewing. She was in her room. A whole day passed. I did not see her, which was kind of weird, but that's the thing. Like, we have to find, well, maybe not so much me now because she's older, but you have to find a way, especially when they are growing. You might be annoyed that they have that attachment to you, but it's not going to last forever. And parents, you have to try to keep the bond. You have to try to keep that bond going for them. All right. So they do face their own challenges in their own way, but it is different, slightly different from what we grew up with in terms of what our challenges. But I think a lot of it more has to do with social media at this time and parents not being as involved. Yeah.
All right. All right. What's going on? Anyways, do we have any comments from the WhatsApp? No. If not, then we could probably.
All right. So I was going to say, as PeeJohn was saying, making a point or his point, I love to see children outside run up and down and playing. I love to hear the screams of children. I think it's because you don't hear it as much now because they're generally inside the houses on the tablets, on the devices or whatever. So, there's just something else. Man, parents, let them go touch grass. Yes, let them go outside and touch grass. Let them run around. Let them play in the dirt. Let them play with other children in the neighborhood. So many of them are just growing up in isolation. You live in a neighborhood and they're not interacting with the other neighbor's child, So let them be children. I love for children to just be children, So let's try our best, right? Try our best.
All right. So it is 7:34 heading on to 7:35, which means that we are going to have to end this one here. As at 7:35, we have to bring to you our traffic talk, but we have another segment at 7:45 when we will get our commentary from Kingsley the Freitas. All right, so join us then. At this time, we're heading out and heading into traffic talk.